everyone, it's Nicole for Spellbinders, and today I'm going to walk you through the brand new Felt Stitch and Create Summer Strawberry. The strawberry is perfect for all of your summer themed felt stitching or just strawberry die cutting. Let's go ahead and get started with our introductory video on how to put the strawberry together. To start, here are the pieces that come with the Felt Stitch and Create Strawberry. We have the front of the back of the strawberry, first. This is going to be a solid piece for when you're stitching this as a plush. We have the front of the strawberry, you can see here, that has the seed cutouts. And then we have a smaller piece, and this is made to create or die cut a smaller strawberry shape that then fits back behind the die cut openings of the seeds for that nice contrast. That's going to be sandwiched between the two layers. Then we have a front and back for the strawberry topper, or just two different strawberry styles. For this one, I did go ahead and use the one with the die cut holes. Finally, we have a leaf, which is the perfect shape. I've got two of these die cut. And then we have a flower with die cut holes with a button die. These can also be used for many other sets interchangeably if you want to mix and match. Let's go ahead and get started stitching. To start, for our plush, again, we are going to sandwich that smaller contrast piece between the front and back of our strawberry. Now, because I'm going to be stitching the topper and sandwiching the body of the strawberry between those two layers, I'm just going to start at the back of the strawberry, leaving a tail, and I'm going to stitch up and down every other hole all the way around the strawberry. I'm leaving a little bit of a tail because when I come back to where I started, I'll tie it in a knot that will then be hidden behind or in between the layers for the top of our strawberry. When stitching, I like to use 3 strands of DMC embroidery floss, and I use a sharp tipped needle. It's important when stitching with felt to use a sharp tipped needle, as even though this has stitching holes for this portion, there will be times when you are stitching through a solid piece of felt and the sharp tip is going to pierce the felt very easily. My advice when stitching your felt pieces is to try to go as straight through the holes as possible. You'll notice that I flip the felt back and forth, making sure that I am hitting the hole and not accidentally piercing another part of the felt shape as I'm die cutting, which can happen with a sharp tip needle, but you'll almost start to feel those stitching holes as you're working. Now, depending on what kind of look you're going for and what you're stuffing your plush with, you could leave it with every other hole. However, I like the filled in shape. Now, the reason every other stitching hole is important with our felt plush is that we don't want to do a traditional back stitch with our felt stitching, because that would mean the back of our ornament, our plush shape, is not going to look as pretty as the front. To get that pretty look, we want to go up and down every other one. When I get to the end, I will reverse and go back. We're going to continue to stitch all the way around the strawberry with our 3 strands of floss. If you get a little knot, just gently work that out of the string. You can, or the thread. You can also let that dangle to help untangle your embroidery floss threads if they get tangled up. Now, once we get back to where we started, we are going to reverse and fill in every other stitching hole to complete the stitching on the body of the strawberry. I love that the top of the strawberry is open. This also would allow you to be able to stuff the body of the strawberry with polyester fiber fill, wool roving, or even felt scraps if you prefer. So here I am coming to the end and I am just simply reversing and we're going to start filling in. I will speed this up a little bit until we get back to where we started and can tie this off and knot the strands. As you can see, the strawberry assembly is very simple. Now, I know at the beginning of the video, I shared some additional ideas. You could stitch multiple strawberries just like I'm showing you in this video, thread some twine through the strawberries, with some wool felt balls, and you could create an adorable strawberry garland to use in your home decor, or even hang from a mantle. Another idea is to take the front of the strawberry only, and you can stitch these pieces flat to another piece of felt or fabric, and you can create banners, hoop decor, dimensional pillows, all kinds of things. The possibilities are really endless with these fun felt shapes. As we are coming to the end, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we filled in every other hole, and I got just a little tangle there. I'm going to work that out with the tip of my needle, and we are going to come to the back and we are simply going to go ahead and tie a little knot and then snip the ends close to that knot. So here I am, and I'm just going to go through. I'm going to tie it once, and I'm going to tie it one more time. We're going to pull it taut, but not super tight. We don't want to rip through the felt. And then using a nice sharp pair of fabric or embroidery scissors, we want to snip those ends to get a nice clean look. Okay, next we're ready to add the top of our strawberry. For this piece, I did opt to use the back and the front of the strawberry. If you're going to do it this way and not stitch through the whole thing for the accent pieces, my suggestion is to go ahead and stitch those accents right now. So what I'm going to do is take my 3 strands of green embroidery floss, and I am going to do the detail stitching on the leaves themselves. This way I am not just randomly stitching through the back portion of the strawberry. I hope that makes sense. You can also opt to die cut 2 of the more plain piece, and you can simply just stitch around the perimeter, sandwiching your strawberry in between, or you can die cut 2 of the detail piece, sandwich your strawberry in between, and have that detail on the front and back. When stitching through only one layer of the felt, you definitely want to take your time, especially when you're getting started. So I am simply stitching those little detail lines, in the leaves. I'm simply going to kind of start in the center area and work my way down the veining in each of the areas at the top of this strawberry. Now, you can die cut your greenery toppers out and leaves out of the same color of green, or you can do like I did here and do a couple of shades. It's a great way to utilize even more of your colors. We're going to go ahead and stitch down each of these, and then we're going to take the strawberry topper. This is going to be the front and the back, and we're going to position them so that they line up with the strawberry sandwiched in between the 2 layers. If it helps, you can take some clips, some little fabric clips. I like the clover clips to hold that in place, or even straight sewing pins if you need help holding them in place while you start stitching. I do find it helpful at times if I'm trying to manipulate too many different parts and pieces to just kind of hold them there until we get a few stitches in and get it secure. Now I'm going to just place that right there on the front, I didn't even unthread my needle. And we're going to make sure that we're going to start fairly close to where I have come out here. So I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to come only through the front piece of my strawberry for now. And we're going to do the same technique as we did before, where we stitch up and down every other hole. When you're sandwiching one piece inside or one layer inside two others, taking your time as you get started is so important. Once you kind of have it, attached enough, it's a lot easier to work with. So I am getting close to being able to take my first stitch through that strawberry. Now, this is where I say having that sharp needle is important, because even though we're going through the stitching holes for our stitching, we are catching the body of the strawberry that doesn't have those stitching holes right here. That is where it is so helpful to have a sharp needle that will pierce through the felt easily. As we start across the front of the strawberry here, now we're catching all of those layers, and it's going to be important to flip your strawberry back and forth, because it's going to be a little less easy to tell that we're hitting those holes. I got another little knot, so I'm going to pull this out, fix that really quick, and continue my stitching. Because I didn't leave a tail for tying this off, I am going to have to run the thread back and forth through the seam, which I'll show you here in a minute, or just through a few. It's not really going to move a whole lot. I generally do like to tie a knot as I finish, but there are always those times where maybe you aren't able to, and it's not going to come unraveled as long as you make sure and secure it. So let's go ahead and get around, because we will have to go around one more time. And again, you'll notice me flipping the strawberry piece back and forth just to make sure that we are lining up those stitching holes. It's imperative at this point that we want the stitching to look beautiful on the front and the back. Maybe you are going to thread some string through the top of this and make this a tag on some presents, or you want to hang it from something. Maybe you are attaching it to a wreath where you will see some of the back of this, and you want it to be more of the dimensional piece. You're displaying it in a bowl with a whole bunch of other strawberries. Maybe think one of those little berry basket display pieces filled with a bunch of felt berries. Wouldn't that be cute? So I always try to think of it as really making sure that the back looks great, not just the front. I like to use nice tension, but not tight tension, if that makes sense. Stitching holes do weaken the edge of the fabric, or the felt. In that, if you pull too hard, even if there weren't stitching holes, you could rip through the fabric. So I try not to pull out towards the edge of the fabric, but instead go straight up and down through the felt piece and through the stitching holes. This will help ensure that your stitches lay nice and neat and that you don't tear through that edge. I'm going to go ahead and go around again. And when we get back, I'm going to show you how I run the tip of my needle through the felt layers a couple of times back and forth just to secure that end. And then I'm going to snip it very close to the edge of the berry. Once we have this done, the base of our strawberry is going to be all put together, and all we have left are the leaves that we're going to add, and of course our adorable little white flower. I love all of the details that come with this set. It really makes it a standout. And don't forget, you can definitely die cut all of these pieces from paper, stitch them, and add them to your card making and other paper crafting projects. Okay, so as we are finishing up here, my thread is kind of short, so I ran it through, and maybe I didn't show it, I apologize, through the top of the needle, and then or through the top of the berry, back and forth through the seam, and then I did go ahead and start that again and die cut or stitch the rest of the top of the berry. Now, for dimensional leaves, I like to take 2 leaves, just hold them together, and what we like to do is I generally start down near the base, and we're going to do the same technique. We're going to stitch up the center every other hole. Now, in order for the leaves and the veining on the leaves to not have any of that funny back stitching, as I come back down the center and as I get to each of the areas where it branches off and the veining starts, we are going to then go out to one leg of the vein, like the left side. Then we're going to come back to the center. We're going to go out to the right side, come back to the center, and then continue down the center until we come to the next veining of the leaves. This ensures that with a dimensional leaf project, and this is any of the leaves, that whether what I want to say is any of the leaves, whether it's the strawberry, if it's the apple that's in this collection, or the sunflower leaf in this collection, or even in the previous collections for fall leaves, this is going to ensure that your dimensional leaves are as beautiful on the front as the back. So let's say you want to take a bunch of fall leaves and make a little grapevine wreath with them. Then the leaves, anything hanging off the edge where you can see the back, doesn't look ugly. Our goal is always to make it look super, super pretty. So I have found these are once you get the hang of it, so easy to stitch. So again, I always start down near the base of the leaf. I stitch up the center every other hole. As I start to come back, just like we do for any of the other felt stitching pieces, I start branching out to the veining, and I go every other hole and then come back to the center, go out to the other side, come back to the center, and I continue all the way. I am going to stitch 2 of these leaves for our strawberry. Now, because we are creating a dimensional plush with this, you can choose to tack them in place with some stitches, or what I often find I like to do, I will just hot glue them in place once I'm happy with the placement. And that is what I will do for not only the leaves, but our little flower as well. For even more contrast, this particular color of floss that I used is the same color that I used for the top of the strawberry. So where I had it match the top of the strawberry and it's a little less obvious, I mean, it still looks stitched, but it matches, I should say, the felt a little bit better. Because I use this same color on some lighter green felt, the veining really shows up. That's another design choice that you can keep in mind when you're stitching with felt. By switching up the color of floss you use, it may give your felt stitch piece a completely different look. Sometimes contrast really makes the piece showy, and I definitely recommend trying that with some of the different things you stitch to see what you like. As we get to the end and we come back to where we started and we have that little tail, we are going to tie a little knot. In this case, I'm not going to worry too much about hiding the knot. If at all possible, I do try to hide it in between the 2 layers, but more than likely, I'm going to hot glue the area with the knot to the strawberry, and so it will be hidden. So here we're just securing that into a little knot, just like so. We're going to snip the ends, and we will stitch 1 more of the leaves for our finished strawberry. I'm going to kind of have 1 positioned on the front and 1 on the back. Now you can stitch through not only the strawberry and the leaves, but you could also, for the flower, but you can do what I'm going to do here, pardon me, and that is stitch through the button front. Another design option is instead of stitching it like you would a traditional button, sometimes I like the little tail ends in the front. I like those little frayed ends. So that is how I stitched the button to the flower front for this one. And I'm simply going to tie it in a knot on the front then and snip those ends. This is another fun little design tip that adds a lot to the finished little felt piece as well. Then we're simply going to hot glue all of these pieces in place and our felt strawberry is all finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this introductory video on how to put together the Felt Stitch and Create Felt Strawberry from this summer release. Thanks for watching and definitely check out the rest of the videos for the release.